Tilt is starting in just a few moments. We're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors. They're winning games, and they're losing games, and they're coming back and winning games. All that, the basic Toronto stuff, we're going to get to. But also, Super Bowl, AFC Conference Championship recap, Bengals, Rams, Super Bowl. Amazing. And Tom Brady retired. Awesome, right? And oh yeah, they're going to talk about soccer too. So yeah, watch now.
We're probably not actually going to do much Leafs talk because of the Brady and Flores shit that happened today and was official. Yeah. But we were going to talk about the Leafs and everything. But anyways, let's just get right to it. It's Toronto on Tilt Live. I'm Steve Artabello with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. You can find us at our website, torontoontilt.com. You can find us on Twitter at Toronto on Tilt. You can find us on Twitch. We're live right now. Search Toronto on Tilt. You can find us on YouTube. We're also live right now, and the video will be posted later, so you can show your friends. Go on YouTube, as per usual. Look for Toronto on Tilt. And finally, you can get the audio of this podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all of the things. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends that Canada is the best team in CONCACAF. And the U.S., I don't know what dimension their head coach lives in, but apparently they dominated the 2-0 game that they lost.
One of the most delusional post-game press conferences. I didn't watch the press conference, but the quotes I saw, I didn't
hilarious.
know. I was at the game, and I saw him at the game, but I don't think mentally he was actually at the game because what he was saying about the U.S. team and how much they were dominating, what the fuck was he watching?
And how Canada couldn't handle their physicality. It's like, what game were you watching?
Why were the U.S. Twitter just bitching about Canadians being dirty then? All I heard was how physical this Canadian team's a bunch of, they're all way too physical, they're way too rough. It's like
that's what I mean. I don't know what game he was watching because nothing that he said in the press conference actually happened on the field. We'll get to the Honduras game after. We're just talking about the U.S. game because it's front of mind. It happened on Sunday, and it was huge.
I forgot all about the Honduras game because this has been such like a pivotal moment again for Canada. It feels like we say that every window now, but like this U.S. game was beating them is like getting that extra step where you're like, that monkey's now off your back. We got the Mexico one off last window. We got the U.S. one off now. It's just like every window is a new thing we're breaking down.
Well, and you did it. We were talking about this, and you did it without your best player, one of the best players in the entire on the entire planet, in Alphonso Davies, and it didn't matter. Like you dominated the Honduras game, and you beat the hell out of the States. And exactly, Steven Eustachio's not there. Atiba Hutchinson got the day off. Like
because he's the yellow card. Yeah, he was in the stadium, I think, from what I was hearing.
Yeah, he wasn't dressed. He got the day off. He's probably going to play in the El Salvador game that we'll talk about. But they did this without a lot of their main guys, and it was dominance. And it was Sam Adekubi that had the greatest game we've ever seen, capped off by that unbelievable goal, which a left back in the 95th minute running the entire field, who played the entire game previous 3 games before, and then scores that to cap it all off and end the game. We were me and Theo were talking about this beforehand. The depth of this Canadian team, like the problem was defense, and now it's not a problem anymore. Like you're looking at Kamal Miller and you feel comfortable with him, even though he falls down a lot. Scott Kennedy, who Jesse was talking about in the last podcast, had a great game against Honduras. Like now there's depth here. Sam Adekubi, Richie Larea can play in the midfield or at the back. You have, Theo, you were there in person. Alistair Johnson just made Christian Pulisic disappear.
All I heard about Pulisic was how generational this guy was. He had nothing from him. Even his the only time you saw him was these set pieces when everyone just started booing. It's like, oh yeah, Pulisic, he's there, and they were terrible set pieces, by the way.
Yeah,
horrible. One of the worst corner kick takers I've ever fucking seen. Terrible.
And that's the U.S.'s big thing is their set pieces.
Yeah, everything about I know. Because people are going to hype up Canada. We're hyping up Canada right now.
Yeah.
Like that U.S. team, and I'm going to give them a lot of shit for how they played, but that isn't what they are. Like that's not the quality that you should expect from them usually.
They should be a better team, but
yeah, with Pulisic, it felt like everything. When you play the low block, and it felt like, okay, the U.S. is going to have their chance. They're going to try to break this down. They couldn't break it down at all. Like, the Canadian team just wanted it more. They played a more tactically sound game. Herdman, for all the shit people gave him, like that I've given him in the past, he is the best manager in CONCACAF, and it's not close.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I didn't know that this would work. You don't see guys come over from the women's game ever. It very seldomly happens. And he did it, and it translated, and he did it in the exact same way, where it was these speeches and rallying the side and getting them together. But you also see the formations and the tactical stuff, because me and Theo talked about this before the podcast. Every single game, there's a different formation. There's a different lineup. You don't see the same players all the time. He's rotating guys in and out, but it's like there's a plan for everything. And when you hear the players interviewed, and when Herdman talks about it, he has a mission for each individual player for each individual game. And you can see it, and you're starting to see the development. Your guys explode onto the scene, like Sana Adekubi and Alistair Johnson, who me and Theo have talked about for months now in all of these podcasts. Every time we talk about the Canadian national team, I keep talking about him because he's phenomenal.
It's because when we were like coming into this, qualifying, it was like, oh, this defense is going to be a problem. Like, they're going to have to outscore their issues. There's going to be breakdowns. They've let up 5 goals this whole run.
Yeah.
Like, that's unbelievable. And those guys deserve even more credit than they're getting. Because, like, I think there was, like, Larin he scored the goal. I felt like offensively, like, we didn't have a game where we were planning to go out and score, but, and to press them very much. It was going to have to come on capitalizing on the few opportunities. It was all about the defensively staying sound and not giving the U.S. chances. And that's exactly what they executed to as perfect as they could have executed it. Like, there was not really any really big chances that you were nervous about for the U.S.
And you finally got to see Larin and David play in a 2-striker setup where they really looked connected. And you saw it in the first goal against the States, which was absolutely beautiful. That give and go, that touch
both
passes.
Goals, we read the wind pretty good, because it felt like
Turner
the wind affected both the balls, and we were able to like capitalize it. The first one, especially, we're trying to drop kick the ball, and it was like
it hung up there. Yeah, hung up. They won the header, and then it went from there. That game was phenomenal. The Honduras game was great. You saw there was another early goal. Tajon Buchanan buried the own goal right off the hop. Just took the guy right. Like,
I'm pissed at Jesse,
so much better on the right side.
I'm pissed at Jesse for this, because I was literally about to bet own goal in that game, and he's like, "Don't bet on this. Don't water down our experience."
Oh my god!
For Canada, so fuck him for that, because
you should have bet on that.
That was like a decent payout too. I forget what it was now, but it was a good little. Wow. And looking at how Honduras plays defense, every game they play, there's a breakdown where they have like some ridiculous goal go against them.
The Jonathan David goal.
Yeah.
The ridiculous chip.
Like where a lot of people are probably confused, like, how is it offside? But you realize, if it's before half.
Exactly. He's before half. The perfect pass by Liam Fraser. Like the absolutely 40-yard bomb perfect pass. Milan Borjan with 4 ridiculous saves in those 2 games that just the times that he makes them, it saves the game, because it's 1-0 both times in the Honduras game and in the USA game, where he's making these huge saves, and then they score the second goal. Like, it's just everything coming together, everything looking fantastic. They're playing El Salvador, and again, they're like, it's hard to think that this team's not just going to keep winning. It's hard to look at this team and not.
That is a tough place to win. According to the way I think the U.S. tied out there, I think Mexico also may have tied out there. It's not the easiest place to play.
No, but at the same time, look what this team is doing.
And I do think if Honduras, not having the full crowd, once I saw they didn't have full capacity, I'm like,
that was huge.
That was really big for us. And I don't know what El Salvador's situation is, but that'll give us problems in different ways. But I think we've shown we can handle that stuff. We're not like this mentally weak team like the U.S. The U.S. is a team who's used to having every game at home, everything go their way. They don't have these tough environments very often,
and being leagues above their opponents.
Yeah,
they're used to having the only guys that play in Europe other than Mexico.
Yeah, and we have the opposite experience. We have guys who have played in these tough environments. We've played these tough games on the national level. We've been the weaker team, not as gifted, and we had to work our way to find wins. And, I just think that little mentality has another part of the reason this team has switched on to be this dominant. Because again, you can look at the U.S. and say, okay, man for man, they're better. But like, does it mean anything when you don't have the tactics, when you don't have the drive? Like, that's what's leading Canada right now.
Yeah, it's they expect to win now. It's a completely different thing. There's not much more to say. Canada's they're the best team in the group.
99.98% chance, I think it is.
Yeah, it's not technically official yet, but they're the best team in the group. They're going to qualify. They're going to Qatar, and like this team is special. This is a special Canada team, and they're young, and this is just the beginning of something. This isn't 1986 where you luck in and that's a fluke that'll never happen again. Davies is 21 years old. Tajon Buchanan is 22 years old. Jonathan David is 22. Like. This team is insanely young. Their core is so young; they should just be getting better. So
I'm more worried about like Herdman, like one of these bigger clubs or bigger countries trying to get him soon because what we're doing right now is getting such attention, and I don't think I realized it until this window. Everyone in the world, like on a qualifying scale, this is the biggest story.
Yeah,
like every FIFA.com, whenever the Canada, like it's the front page, like almost every time. So it's like
they're dominating in goal scoring too. Like it's in all of qualifying. It's just everyone's taking notice. Canada's a soccer country,
and it's fit in with the perfect because the U.S. hasn't had a good campaign. The Mexican team is literally on the worst decline I've seen in a long time.
None of those guys are playing in Europe. They're all playing at home. Like the Mexican team, a lot of those guys are nationals. They're playing because the Mexican league got better, so a lot of those guys are staying at home. But they don't have those massive superstars. Like because Mexico, when I was a kid, had Rafa Marquez who played for Barcelona. They had Andres Guardado who played for Real Madrid. Like Chicharito who was playing for Manchester United. Like they had these guys that played at the very highest level of European football, were constantly in the Champions League, and they were a dominant side. And they just that next group hasn't come. Yeah, you have a Lozano, but you don't have many other guys, right? So it's Canada. This Canadian team. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning of something dominant. We've seen this with the U.S. before, where they've had a bunch of young, promising kids, and then those kids have gone nowhere. So other than Weston McKennie, they all got to prove something to me.
Yeah, and the good thing is because when we do see this World Cup, I think this World Cup is perfect that this isn't the one we're hosting, because I think this is gonna be the one where we're going to see them play like the tough European teams that are going to give them problems physically and skill wise, where they're going to have to really show. Like I still don't know how we're going to level up against those like European teams that you would think are on our level, because it's just the way they play is so much different than what the CONCACAF has been, right?
And when they're hosting, it'll be in 5 years.
Yeah.
So all of these guys will be like, all of these kids that we're talking about that are growing should be men. They should be 27, 28, and in their absolute primes dominating. So it should be completely different when it's that is when you might start having expectations of doing something at the tournament. This is just about making the tournament. You know what I mean? This is about getting there and maybe doing something once you get there. If you get into a lucky group, who knows? But exactly, you don't like. If this team has to play against
the Qatar group, that's what we need.
Exactly. You need Qatar, and then you need to get lucky and play like Saudi Arabia too, and maybe
and there's an outside shot we get to pot
South
3,
Korea.
I think if we like run the table, which I don't think we're going to, but if we somehow win all the games, like is there a chance we can get to pot 3, which would be like huge.
Well, see, that'll be something we talk about as that starts happening with groups.
We're looking way ahead. But the one thing I want to leave with before we stop this is just play the Jamaica game in Toronto, please, because Hamilton's fine, whatever. The stadium's okay. I don't like the location of it. I just think that like Toronto is so much easier for a lot of people that like,
and it's easier for all of us to get to the game.
Yeah, like let's just do this in Toronto. I know the rest of the country hates it, but I don't know. I'll tell you, we're just, it's a bias. It's just what it is right now. But
yeah, El Salvador tomorrow, big game, 9:00. Can't wait. It's gonna be spectacular. Canada's a force now, man. They're going into these games just expecting to win. 5 wins in a row. 5 wins in a row in the group. But now we'll bring Tony back into this conversation since he's not exactly a big
Tony. Do you have any thoughts on Canada? You got to stop with whatever you're doing with them, Mike. It is.
You got to hold it in a way that it's not bubbling like that.
Like what?
Because do you have it on a mic stand or are you holding the mic?
Can you show me what you're holding?
No, I'm holding it in my hand now.
Okay, that's it's perfect now. What you were doing before was like wiggling
because he's moving it. Every time he does this, something bangs around in it, and we can hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, Tony, I guess Bengals Chiefs is the first game that we have thrown up here. Since me and Theo were busy and had to rewatch Bengals Chiefs, which was actually fucking spectacular.
Can you
How would you take us on the? Yeah, exactly.
Can you give us a little recap, like a solo camera recap? Tell us what happened.
Okay. Yeah. So, I was all in. Chiefs are easily going to win. I've underestimated the Bengals every step of the way from the beginning of the year. Both playoff. I kind of knew they'd beat the Raiders, but I gave them almost no chance against Tennessee. They won. They were down 21-3 at halftime. I'm like, well, whatever, they're going to lose. I had money on the Chiefs parlay. It felt amazing. I didn't sweat it at all. But I don't know what the Bengals did. They did what they did the last time they played them in Week 17. They completely shut them out in the second half of the game, just mixing up coverages, basically being in zone the whole time, daring them to run the ball, and they didn't. They refused to run the ball the entire second half of the game in overtime. They scored 3 points, and the Bengals took advantage of the Chiefs' mistakes, and they won the game. They won 27-24. I mean, Joe Burrow made some pretty crazy plays, just running out of the pocket, sneaking. Like Chris Jones had him wrapped up, and he still snuck out on a 3rd and 7, something like that. I mean, I got to give credit to the Bengals. It wasn't luck; that they earned
it. And the Bengals defense, like that defensive line, can get pressure. Trey Hendrickson is really good. Like
another
he's
guy
chasing. Yeah. That's the thing. You go to look at his stats. He had a phenomenal season, and then you watch him play, and it's like, where the hell did this guy come from? You see him chasing Patrick Mahomes around.
Before the season, like everyone was talking about that signing as like, why would you sign a guy on his absolute ceiling at his best year who hasn't really proven like he can replicate that? And then he's just done better this year. He's done even better.
It's like,
and they let their own guy, Carl Lawson, just walk to sign him. Like it didn't make any sense. But
exactly. They swapped him in.
Everyone else they signed has been like amazing.
And Joe Burrow, man, like he is, nothing phases him. Like this next level of quarterbacks, like we'll talk about it, Brady retiring and Manning's gone and all those guys we watch, but holy fuck, Joe Burrow, like it doesn't matter.
He doesn't need an offensive line. He just doesn't need an offensive
line. Exactly. He's got weapons all over the place, and it's just like, all right, cool. I'll just dodge a sack, start running around. Fuck it. Jamar's down there somewhere. T. Higgins is down there somewhere. I'll call some kind of crazy audible and throw it to CJ Uzama, or maybe chuck it in the flat to Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd. Like, this team is so much fun, and they're going to the Super Bowl. Like, we talked about how this was a young team, and eventually we thought they were going to run into something. Maybe it would be the Titans, right? Maybe, they were probably better than the Titans, but then you look at the Titans, they're experienced, they're getting Derrick Henry back, and they're really well coached. And the Bengals just can't be stopped at the moment. It's awesome.
The problem is that
Tennessee game, they got kind of lucky in that game, if you ask me. But this game, I think they earned this one a lot.
What everyone's been saying, and this is what I've been basing on the entire season when I've thought about the Bengals and been betting on games, is that they're gonna get exposed by these teams with these good D lines, and that's gonna be an issue. And it turns out, I saw a stat on Twitter, and they said like they were 8-2 in games against teams who are in the top half of the league in pressure rate. So they're not just like beating the teams when they match up well; they're beating the teams who they're supposed to match up poorly against, and they're finding a way to like still do it. So they're just a team that's just like, it's gonna be one of those years. Like if the Bengals aren't anything next year, let's say they're not like this level ever again, you're gonna be like, how the hell did the Bengals do it that year? And it's just like everything kind of went right, and they're all playing at the top of their level. All the star players are, at least.
If Joe Burrow's healthy, I don't think you're gonna be talking about the Bengals not doing. Like I don't know if they're gonna go to Super Bowl every year. That's ridiculous. Like people already talked about Mahomes, like he was going to be better than Tom Brady, and they started putting it in. Again, we'll talk about this when we talk about Brady. They started putting that into scope. It's like what Mahomes would actually have to do to break the records, and
every new athlete. Compare
exactly.
It happened with Russell Wilson. Happened to Carson Wentz. Happened to all these guys when they win a Super Bowl or when they get a good run. Everyone thinks it's going to repeat next year, and it's like
exactly.
not that easy.
So let's not say that that's going to happen. But at the same time, if you look at Joe Burrow, there's a reason the Chiefs have made 4 straight AFC Championship games. Like Patrick Mahomes is special, okay? And then you're looking at Joe Burrow and you're seeing
straight?
the same. I thought that was the 4th.
4.
I thought that was the 4th, the one that they lost. That was number 4. But like, then you start to look at Joe Burrow and you're like, this is another guy who's like that. And I mean, coaching decisions and the way that the fucking defense can't stop anything for the Chargers. But you're looking at Justin Herbert. You're looking at these guys who just late in games. It's okay, cool. I'll just drive you all the way down the field. I did no pressure. Doesn't matter. And these are kids that are in their second and third. Mahomes is in his 5th NFL season, 6th. But these are guys that are in their second and third season in Burrow and Herbert. It's insane, and they're ridiculous. They're unbelievable, and we'll talk about. It'll be interesting when we next week when we do talk Super Bowl, especially about that pressure, because Von Miller and
it seems like it's written in stone, the way.
Right?
But
they're not good against the run, and then there's Joe Mixon. So what happens if they start running the ball, and then that's how you stop the pressure, because that's kind of how the Bengals have managed to stop the pressure a little bit, is using Joe Mixon, and then Joe Burrow just going Super Saiyan in the second half of games and going nuts. Anything else you guys want to talk about with this game?
I want to give credit to Zach Taylor. It's actually a good segue. I think the only coach who didn't fuck his team over in an aspect of this weekend.
He's made consistently made good calls.
They were doing a lot of first down runs and
but I meant a key moment, a key. I didn't get, obviously it's at the game, the Canada game. I couldn't watch this whole thing. I did see the extended highlights, but from what I saw, this was the only team that didn't have a decision where you're looking at what the fuck did they call? Why did they do that? Why did they waste this time out? I could be wrong. Did something happen with the Bengals in that first half, especially?
Any individual make or break moments where he had a call to make that was going to influence things. So he just did his job in those areas, and he didn't. I think he called a few timeouts in the first half, but
those aren't as important though. It's the second half timeouts. You can't use all 3 in the third quarter like some people.
Andy Reid.
That fucking play call that cost him the game pretty much.
Yeah, and before halftime,
forgetting
out to Tyreek Hill short of the end zone with no timeouts or whatever. I mean, at the time we're just I thought no big. It was kind of big, but whatever. But no,
it was 21-3, so you're okay. It's
21-10, right? Because the Bengals scored, and then the Chiefs were about to make it 28-10, and then after halftime they're getting the ball again. That would have been the game if they.
Yeah, that could have been the step on the throat moment if they score that tutty, but it didn't happen. Yeah. And then Andy Reid refuses to run the football.
Yeah, they just wouldn't do it.
Good old Andy Reid.
It's as much as things change, they stay the same. As much as Andy Reid has evolved, there's just certain things that just haunt him.
You see Eagles Andy Reid pop up, because there was moments where you watch why the fuck the Eagles get rid? Then you just see, these are the Andy Reid things sometimes that pop up, and
some of it is Mahomes too, just not handing the ball off on these read options. He has
and pushing the ball down the field and not taking sometimes not taking a short throw. And just taking the safe short throw to keep the change moving, or to make it a short third down where he's trying to go for the home run because he knows he can, and he has before, which is getting it's getting to him a little bit, because then you see him force it more.
In the middle, because at the beginning of the game he was able to throw it down the field, and then he couldn't anymore, and
didn't adjust.
Yeah,
yeah. Did you want to move on to? Niners, Rams.
Sure.
Tony, take us away.
My perspective, me watching the game. Again, I was on San Francisco in this game, being kind of an anti-Matthew Stafford guy, just for this year anyway. And really, the Rams should have won this by a lot. I know they came back at the end. The 49ers had a lead, but they had that interception in the end zone on the first drive of the game. They were getting pretty much wherever they wanted in between the 20s, throwing the ball. Cooper Kupp was open every play. He had 130 yards or something like that. Odell had 100 yards too. They had all that, but they weren't able to score touchdowns until the fourth quarter. Typical Kyle Shanahan game where he had a lead in the fourth quarter in a game that mattered. He completely screwed it up with stupid decisions. And now everyone says, Jimmy Garoppolo's bad. But we all know Jimmy Garoppolo's bad. but they put him in a position where he had to be awesome at the end of the game, and he wasn't, because you aren't going to win in that situation most of the time. The big call was the 4th and 2 when they were up by 3 with, I don't know, like less than 10 minutes in the game, and they punted, even though the Rams called a challenge. Like, they had time to come up with something good in the playbook, but instead they came back out and they had to delay a game, try to draw them offside. But yeah, end of story. Kyle Shanahan is the worst.
I think the problem is that he's not the worst, and that's why it's so frustrating. He should be the best, but it's good.
He can do all this stuff with Jimmy Garoppolo, the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Steve, I want your opinion on this because you're someone who saw this firsthand. His end of it, that Falcons Super Bowl, did that just ruin him mentally? Because the fourth quarter, it's just like the guy can't fucking coach.
No, he does things and he doesn't change. Like, he's very, like, for example, that Falcons Super Bowl, right? Like, the problem with that was throwing the football is what they did all season. So when they, in the second half, when you should switch up your game plan and burn clock, all season they hadn't done that. All season when they got ahead on people, they kept throwing the football. So he went back to the well because it had worked all season long. And then you have the Devonta Freeman missed block and Devonta Hightower makes. And let's not talk about that because it didn't happen. But anyways, when you look at the 49ers, like we talked about this with the Rams. It's like the heroes and zeros, superstars and guys from the practice squad, right? And they have all of this talent. But when you look at that Niners team, like, that offense really should be unstoppable. Like, Deebo Samuel is a wide receiver 1, running back 1. Brandon Ayuk is really fucking good, and they just didn't use him for most of the season. And then games where they actually were like, oh yeah, we have Brandon Ayuk, let's game plan for him, he would have like 11 catches and 140 yards. George Kittle is a freak. He's the best run blocking tight end in football, and he's a top 3 receiving option. Like, look at all of the talent. You can plug any running back in there. Any running back. Elijah Mitchell, they found in the 6th round. Like, they have all of these guys, all of this talent. The offensive line is great. And then you drafted a quarterback 3rd overall, and you still tried to do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy got hurt and was playing injured when you saw what Trey Lance did with this offense at the end of the season.
I also have a question for the greatest football mind ever. Why doesn't he have like a Marcus Mariota playbook, at least for him?
There's not even like early on in the year.
In the big moments,
because he almost lost the locker room because he was trying to play with 2 quarterbacks. Right?
Who cares about the locker room?
Well, no, you had Jimmy. Here's the thing. Jimmy did take them to a Super Bowl. So you had the veterans on that team being like, okay, so you drafted a kid 3rd overall, and Jimmy was better than him in training camp. Like, he won the job, right? Because you saw
Trey Lance always getting the job.
Yeah, and you saw how raw Trey Lance was. Like, you see a 75-yard touchdown.
What was the reason Jimmy was going to play this though? Like, tell me what the reason.
No, that was in the beginning of the season. That was in the beginning of the season, and then Trey Lance during the season proved that he was the better option. Like, at the beginning of the season, I get it. Right? You had that situation with the where they wanted the veteran guy. Jimmy got hurt. You went to Trey Lance. It went well. So what, like, Jimmy wasn't 100%. I guess it was just, I'm going to stick with my guy, but
I think after that Cowboys game, he needed to make that change. That was the moment. Like, you looking at a guy who had a terrible playoff, but like, you have an option on the bench who at least gives you some upside.
And was the 3rd overall pick, and you trade. Well, and look at what they traded to go get Trey Lance. Like, they traded up to do it. Like, it's one of those things that's mind-boggling that you put yourself in the situation. You have all of these weapons, and it's still found a way to explode in your face.
Yeah. Well, with Trey Lance, it's the idea you don't want a rookie who's going to make mistakes. Jimmy Garoppolo is like trying to fill in interception.
Way more mistakes.
And again, why is the ball in his hands when you're Kyle Shanahan and look what you do with the running game? Like,
if that's the problem in the game, they couldn't run. The Rams were stuffing the run the whole time. And yet they were still up 17-10 or 17-3. It was crazy. But it's after that 4th and 2, when they got the ball back, they had like 6.5 minutes. And to say that, they're worried about Jimmy Garoppolo, they dropped back with Jimmy Garoppolo 3 times in a row. They had time to run. They could have done whatever they wanted in that situation. but instead they decided to put it all on Jimmy, and he did nothing. But we got to talk about that third down play. They weren't even ready. They weren't even ready to snap the ball. I can't even believe that. How you can not ready, season on the line, play like that. That's bad coaching, if you ask me.
It's just the consistency of it in these moments, and I don't know how he shakes that without, it just feels like any time you're never going to trust that guy. And the guy on the other side, we should talk about McVay, fucking boy genius over there.
Well, he fucked up
just as bad.
He
lost those timeouts. He didn't have any timeouts in the fourth quarter. Like, that's Andy Reid shit.
Yeah,
well, he admitted it didn't make any sense.
He admitted after the game that those were on him because they were literally it was just him got calls. That wasn't the challenge guy in the booth watching the video being like, Sean, you have to challenge this. That was McVay being like, fuck it, I'm going for it. That's what happened twice.
At all. Like the second one, I was like, what is he even challenging? Like the guy was clearly down in the replay.
Right?
It was a joke.
Yeah, it was a gut call. He did it twice and it failed twice.
Yeah.
But it worked.
And, we should talk Stafford too. Like even he had a decent game, but like there was moments where he had like, oh, he's trying to give this game away.
And he didn't look great. Take it. He didn't look great early on. The first interception wasn't really his fault.
A little bit behind, but yeah,
it was a little behind, and
bang play.
And you hit your wide receiver. It's not that like again, it's a little behind, so it's not like he has to catch that, but at the same time, you don't expect him to throw it straight up into the air and then it end up being an interception. You know what I mean? Like that's bad luck. But at the same time, he wasn't accurate. He wasn't able to get it done early, and then in the second half, it all came together.
Well, he had that one play, that little hit, that little arm punt.
The worst drop ever.
That might be the worst drop in NFL history. I still don't know how he caught.
That was
He really took his time getting under it, and he still dropped it.
Would that have they still would have probably lost though, eh? The way that offense was going.
There was a lot of time, 9.5 minutes.
They probably would have done. The Niners did nothing in the fourth quarter with the ball.
But he could have had a good return on that.
That's you don't know like that could. It could also change the momentum. When something like that doesn't happen, it's kind of huge.
Like the next play, you know what the next play was? That play to Odell on the sideline, followed up by the unnecessary roughness.
No, but that's right. Like that's
on Odell.
That's what I mean. It's like those are huge turning point moments of games like this when they're this close and there was like so little offense in the game that those are huge moments. They just are. Anything else about this game?
No, we'll talk more Super Bowl in a couple weeks when we have an actual, more time to think about this matchup. I think everyone's kind of giving their early takes now, and it all seems like a consensus where it's like the same thing being talked about the Bengals is being talked about this week, where it's like, okay, this was fun run, but like now you got a team that you can't beat. It's
another great pass rush, right? Like, are they going to be able to keep Joe Burrow alive?
Great offense. They're going to score.
I don't think there's going to be a game where I've never I'm cheering hard for the Bengals. I really want them to win this.
I want Stafford to win, but like the Bengals are too much fun. Like I
said too many bad things about Stafford. If he wins Super Bowl this year right in my face, it'd be such a bad look.
I would love to see Matt Stafford get a Super Bowl. But at the same time, I am going to be cheering for the Bengals. One thing I will say, if Jalen Ramsey's locked down on Jamar Chase, like T. Higgins could have a ridiculous Super Bowl. Like there's a chance.
Jalen Ramsey can stop Jamar Chase.
No, well, that's
Chase got a big game.
Jamar Chase can blow up at any time, but Jalen Ramsey is one of the best corners in football. But
for sure, but
if that means that T. Higgins is going to be one-on-one a lot, Joe Burrow is going to look there. Like he's going to take advantage of that because he trusts T. Higgins because T. Higgins is really fucking good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Right?
The guy the Packers passed on to take Jordan Love.
Yeah.
It could be the Packers right now, and otherwise.
The Packers had some issues of their own that weren't like by the end of the season. Valdez-Scantling and Lazard, like they were all actually playing pretty well. There was more wrong with that Packers team.
Well, not in the playoff game though.
That's what I mean. Like by the end of that, there was like they just looked like shit in that game. Do you guys want to talk? Okay, Brady. You do the Brady thing first, or do you want to talk Flores? Okay, we'll end with Brian Flores. So Tom Brady retired, 22 seasons. It's official. He retired. Adam Schefter reported it, and then it was like, whoa. But no, it was official today. Brady retired. But Theo, what's going on with Brady in New England? was very interesting that his Instagram vote was missing a couple of things.
Before that, I do want to talk a little bit about the Saturday and how I was confused because it's like Brady has that show on ESPN, right? Where he's like doing that Brady one man. What's that called? Man in the Arena.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was confused. Like, wait, why are they like? ESPN was pushing so hard for this story, and I'm like, isn't Brady just gonna like do something big there? Why are they trying to like ruin it? Like that didn't make sense to me. But like going back to today, New England is having a meltdown. I think they're still having a meltdown. I've never seen a more spoiled group of people.
Yeah,
who expects a thank you for doing things for these people for 20 years. Like I don't understand what are they upset about right now?
But he thanked them already.
Yeah, exactly. 2 years ago he left, and they expect everything revolves around them. I think that's in part because Brady's made their expectations in life so goddamn inflated.
Also, just I don't like Boston sports. Fuck the Red Sox. Fuck the Bruins. Fuck the Patriots. I don't care if you feel bad. If anything, I love it. Go fuck yourselves. Like seriously, fuck New England.
I mean, I'd be pretty surprised. But I think if I was a Patriot fan, I'd be pretty surprised.
Did we not know that this didn't end well? Haven't we spent the last 3 years, like the last year in New England and this time with Tampa Bay, talking about how bad it had gotten there and how he didn't like anyone by the end of it and how they weren't talking and like all of the stories that came out? Like,
I do think
the picture that he posted was when he was in Tampa Bay in New England. Like, he did that on purpose.
He's gonna say, like, I know he did a little tweet today, like, oh yeah, by the way, thanks New England. Like that was way worse than not even saying anything.
That was actually the best because they got so angry at that too. It was great. It was so
I couldn't think if Donovan McNabb, if he won 6 Super Bowls for the Eagles, I would literally, he could punch me in the face and I on his way out, and I'd be like, oh yeah, there goes a king, there goes a legend. Like why do you don't need anything at that point?
No,
like
that's what I mean.
People act like
fuck Boston sports fans. They're spoiled.
Sports fans in general, like
they forget what it was. They forget what it was when
I'm just talking about sports fans in general. It's really stupid when you really think about it. Like these people watch him every Sunday and they think like
he cares about
the reason he's doing this right now. He's doing this because we're propelling.
We're cheering him on. Yeah, no, exactly.
You cheered on the easiest franchise to cheer on for the last 20 years. Like
it's like you're a Patriots fan. It's the same thing as being a Yankees fan, a Lakers fan. Like it's okay. Congratulations.
Yeah, like he didn't just leave you this year. Like he left you 2 years ago. You did that whole thing, and then he's, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a Blue Jays example. Like if we had this happen, like if Vladdy leaves. Well, that was different.
Like 1 year. Kawhi was just like
Kawhi's a 1 year thing. Is kind of pretty different.
Yeah, but what he did, he won a championship. That's the only good thing that's ever happened to the Raptors, really.
He didn't even want to be here. So it's like, it's kind of different. Exactly. It's a little bit different of a situation.
Yeah, but it's just like, it puts it in perspective. Like there's a lot of very, very angry assholes right now. It's
Yeah, good.
It's pretty funny.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even the funniest thing that happened today.
Well, that's true. I'm glad Brady's out of here. I never have to see him play again.
How bad are you going to feel when he overshadows Peyton Manning even in retirement? That's about to happen.
Whatever, right? It's not that big of a gap if you ask me. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I was just about to say this. That leads right into me saying, I think now you can pretty much say like it's unequivocal when you think about football and the greatest of all time. It's Tom Brady. Like now it's positionless. Like you used to argue about players like, Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver of all time. It's like, well, who's better, him or Joe Montana? Or like, Barry Sanders or LaDainian Tomlinson. Like all these names come up. It's just Tom Brady. He has the records. He has 7 fucking Super Bowls. He made 10 Super Bowls. Almost half his career ended in a Super Bowl. Like it's mind-boggling. A third of the time he spent in the NFL, he won the Super Bowl. Like it's you won't see that. He and of all time, like you're talking of a guy who like it's in the Jordan conversation. It's in the like single sport, like Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic conversation. It's just this elite of elite. No, like I don't know who else is going to win 7 Super Bowls. I don't know how that's possible. So as much as I might hate him as a Falcons fan because of a certain Super Bowl that may or may not have happened, that may or may not have happened. He's the greatest of all time.
I think a lot of blame themselves. So
yes. Well, Kyle Shanahan, again, it didn't happen. Don't worry about it. But Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Like, it's just, he's the best.
You know who had a winning record against them in the playoffs? Peyton Manning.
Nick Foles.
3-2 in the playoffs against the most clutch guy in the world, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, who has 7 Super Bowls and all of the passing records. What does Peyton Manning have?
Peyton Manning's in company with Eli and Nick Foles. It's in the same. And actually, Nick Foles is in company because he has a touchdown.
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. Only Nick Foles and Eli are the only things that can stop Brady in a Super Bowl.
Peyton only played like 16 years, and he was the leader when he retired.
I didn't want to turn this into a Brady sacrifice or Peyton Manning is on level conversation. But.
No, Tom Brady is the GOAT, the football GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. There's really nothing to argue about there. He just is.
Team game. That's my argument.
Okay. Now in less positive news, and speaking of former Patriots, holy fuck. So Brian Flores is suing the NFL for racial discrimination, essentially saying that their hiring practices, it's the Rooney Rule is bullshit. They don't pay attention. They don't even the bullshit rule they put in place to try to pretend like they care about giving opportunities to non-white people, they couldn't even obey. He's found out the Bill Belichick texts are wild, where Bill's congratulating him because he thought it was Brian Dabble, who was the Bills offensive coordinator, and and Flores hasn't even interviewed for the job yet. You have the wild tweets about like Stephen Ross trying to tamper with Deshaun Watson.
I think that's the one that's going to come out and be the most like. Well, if that's true,
they tried to put that on Flores.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing. Flores could probably win this lawsuit just based on what happened with the Raiders and Gruden. Not Gruden getting fired. Them hiring Gruden and not going through the process of the Rooney Rule. Davis just said fuck it and hired him. There's a good chance that he's going to be able to prove this somehow and win. Though.
Did they interview Leslie Frazier first? Did they not do that? Because that's what I thought.
I thought they interviewed their own coordinator.
Yeah, did they? If they did,
who are you talking about?
I thought the Giants did.
Oh, the Giants?
Yeah, that's why I think he might actually be fucked here. Flores might be in trouble. Not in trouble, but he might.
No, but it's just the idea that their mind was made up already.
Yeah,
the point stands. I'm just talking about a legal perspective. It might be tougher than.
I don't know. We got to get that information.
Yeah, I thought they interviewed Leslie Frazier, and that's what I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but the situation as a whole is such another black mark for the NFL. The NFL is just can consistently take these black marks and somehow
get away with it because they're a horrible human being. Put it this way, no one talks about Deshaun Watson. That story just went away.
He's going to play next year too.
No, but that exactly the NFL is fucked, and they somehow managed to go through this. I wonder if this even gets to trial, just similar to the Giants thing, where it's
Giants interviewed Leslie Frazier. Okay. Just saying,
but then he also has the Broncos in that too. I don't know what their situation was. You heard about that, right? How they were an hour late. John Elway was an hour late.
I did
interview Brian Flores, and he was hammered. They were all hung over from the night before.
No, his point is I hope he wins it because it is a disgusting practice that we've been doing for a long time, and I just don't he's really going to need some people to really stand behind this, and I think he'll get it from the public at least. But the NFL is just this different animal of attack.
Yeah,
you need
Well, you saw with his statement, he knows what he's doing. He understands that this might be the end of his career. He said it today.
He'll be going back.
Right, this is going to be a Colin Kaepernick situation where he will be a pariah and no one will hire him because it's just the way the NFL works, right? And again, even the Colin Kaepernick thing ended up getting settled out of court because it's the NFL. I don't hold that as out of the possibility. This could still settle just because it's the NFL. They have the ability to throw so much money at things and make things happen because they're the NFL. They have that much power. It's insane.
I don't know what Flores' like financial situation is like if he has but if he has like fucking money where he doesn't need to like take a settlement, this would be funny to just see him drag it out as long as possible just to make it as inconvenient as possible for the NFL.
Yeah, he probably has another year salary with the Dolphins, right?
Probably a couple because he signed a long-term deal.
At least 1 year. Yeah,
I want to say he signed a 5-year. I think he signed a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So yeah.
3.
Yeah, so he's got to have at least 1 year left.
But you see the NFL already released a statement like an hour later, like, yeah, there was nothing wrong here. We didn't do nothing wrong. I already checked. Like,
it's the NFL. I guarantee they have all of these things pre-written in a drawer somewhere.
I know, but you think you'd wait a couple days to act like you investigated, but like they did like an hour later.
They don't care. Look who plays in the NFL still.
Yeah,
again,
they love John Mara. He's
classy. Here's the thing: we also talk about the Chiefs all the time, and no one talks about what Tyreek Hill did twice.
That's old news,
right? Like this is the NFL. It's gross. Just like terrible things happen in this league. Horrible things. I hope Brian Flores wins. I hope this shines some light on it.
I hope the Giants lose every pick.
Yeah, I just don't have a lot of confidence in it because this fucking.
Oh, he's so mad.
Do we think Todd Bowles is going to get a job now?
I think. Who still needs to hire?
The Saints. Who else?
I don't know.
The Vikings got Harbaugh. So.
See, the NFL is listening. They cut me out as I complain.
Yeah,
Roger Goodell literally runs this podcast,
right?
No, yeah, we were talking about like Anthony just mentioned like, will Todd Bowles get a job now just to hide from all this kind of
PR nightmare? The Bucs are fucked. Like the Bucs are about to fall apart.
Yeah, the Dolphins.
Todd Bowles? I thought he was
sorry. I thought you were talking about like the franchise of the Dolphins in general because of what.
Oh, will they hire Todd Bowles? No, okay. I was like, what are you talking about? Todd Bowles is Bruce Arians.
No, yeah, we were off on something else.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's probably going to just, if Bruce Arians retires, I don't know if he's planning on doing that, but probably in the next couple of years.
The Bucs have a problem. Like the Bucs have a real problem of everyone leaving. Like they might just make Byron Leftwich the head coach.
Because he was getting Trask at quarterback. Oh, he's set to fail.
Yeah, Jacksonville hasn't finalized their guy yet.
Yeah, so like there's a chance because like if Arians steps away, Leftwich was going to get a bunch of interviews this offseason, so he might be the head coach.
Well, he's supposed to be like Jacksonville's guy.
You would think so because he also was the quarterback. Like it would make a lot of sense. There'd be a lot of goodwill. That was a time that the team was actually good. There wasn't a lot of times like that.
Is Bieniemy just like he's never gonna get it?
I have no idea. Like it's the NFL. Look what they do.
He's got to care about like domestic violence and stuff when it's a black guy. So they're gonna hold those rules over him.
Yeah,
but not anyone else.
It's we're getting a little bit too into this stuff, but I thought it was just like the old man text messages. It's the perfect like old man. Oh yeah,
like Bill.
I think
ruining the Giants.
This has to be a deep fake. Like Bill Belichick, I still respect as like this amazing mind. I still think there's another layer.
He doesn't know technology.
That's a perfect cover up. He's been playing this seat for a long time. Get back at the Giants.
Deep fake Bill Belichick.
But he still has a good relationship with the Giants though. Like was it ugly when he? I don't
think so. Parcells brought him in and they won a Super Bowl together. He was there. Coordinator.
And he left with.
No, then he got a head coach of the Browns. That was when he got the head coach of the Browns job. Yeah, I don't think anything bad happened. I'm pretty sure he got a head coaching job because he won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I mean, throughout the years, it's been like 30 years between that. So, like, did something happen where he's like, what? Hey,
no, it was the Jets. It's the Jets that he hates because they're in division and the Mancini thing, the Mancini thing, or what? What was his name? Mangini. That's it. The Mangenius.
They tried to force him to be their head coach. That's why he quit.
Oh yeah, he quit after one day. He was the Jets head coach for like a day or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we get wildly off topic, is there anything else you guys want to say? Because this Brian Flores thing is wild, but the NFL is fucked. And
this will have a lot of updates and
like as more information comes out, like the Stephen Ross stuff is wild. Like because if he can get this shit proven in court, what it means for like the integrity of the league to have an owner if it legally gets brought out in court in a deposition that he gets found that he did do stuff like that, where he was
especially with all the gambling partnerships they have now, like that's an actual like legal issue. They can't just hide that one.
Like forget the tampering shit with Deshaun Watson. That's a next level exactly because of gambling and because of just league integrity. To pay your head coach to lose games, that's a whole nother thing that more details need to come out about, because if that ends up happening, that's a whole nother, like that's bad for the NFL. That is when it becomes bad for business. And that's when shit could get real.
Yeah, the ideal scenario is Flores, wins this and beats NFL and then comes coach the Argos in like 4 or 5 years.
The Argos.
And wins
4 or 5 years. The Argos would hire him like immediately.
I know, just saying, like, depending how long this process goes.
He can run the entire franchise whenever he wants. I will pick him up at the airport. Brian Flores wants to run the Argos.
Game, though?
Who cares?
It's very difficult to understand.
Who cares? I'll take Brian Flores.
Him and Pinball to the moon.
Anything else you boys want to talk about today? Or
Jim Harbaugh to the Vikings.
Is it official?
Yeah.
Did it happen?
Pretty much.
I know he wanted it. Like, did you see that somewhere?
It's pretty much official.
So he won the big game and then said that's as good as it gets at Michigan. And
now he gets Kirk Cousins for a year.
Yeah.
Flying. Oh, he's flying in.
Well, Kirk Cousins, that could be a situation where
Jim Harbaugh plans to become. Oh yeah, from NBC Sports.
Well, he's
and also
make Kirk an MVP.
So it literally starts off with it's never over until it's over, but it's looking like it could be over. So again, it hasn't officially happened, but it looks like
have the Vikings satisfied the Rooney Rule?
I don't know who they've interviewed.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea. Maybe this is gonna be more fucking proof for Brian Flores.
Yeah. And then McDaniels to the Raiders, which
yeah,
that feels
good
like
luck
a
with
Raiders
that.
move.
We'll see if he's their coach in the net before their press conference.
Oh yeah, that was the Colts situation. That also fucked the Eagles pretty badly,
right? And then he went back to New England. We'll see if he actually stays with the Raiders. That'll be great. But I guess that's it for this episode of Toronto on Tilt. I'm Steve Artibello with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. As always, you can find us at our website, TorontoOnTilt.com. You can find us at Twitter, at Toronto on Tilt. We stream live on Twitch. Look for Toronto on Tilt on Twitch. Look for Toronto on Tilt on YouTube. We're live right now. The video will be posted there later. And of course, you can listen to the audio of this podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Bleaker, all the things. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll talk Super Bowl, and Canada's the best team in CONCACAF.